In this section, we're going to learn about something called H lookups and V lookups. H is horizontal, V is vertical. So you might guess here in table 1 would be looking for a vertical lookup. In other words, what month number do we see? Let's look up the month name. Here I have table 2, which is talking about the fee for the outcome. The 3 outcomes were adoption, return to owner, and transfer. And we'll say that if there's an adoption, the shelter gets 100. If it's returned to the owner, the shelter gets 0. And if the shelter has to transfer the animal, they have to pay 10. Notice here the dollar signs. If I look at format, I'm right-clicked, format cell. You'll see I selected currency with 0 decimal places, so the dollar sign automatically appears. I didn't write it there. And then here, I'm describing the length of their stay. I'm saying if they stayed for 32 days, we're going to say they had a 2-month stay. Less than that, we'll say they had a 1-month stay. If they stayed for 63 days, we'll say they have a 3-month stay, and so on. And we'll come back to table 3. Okay, so I want to first fill in this month name column. I'm going to hide, I'm highlighting all these extra rows, and I'm going to hide them just so that I can have less space between my blank column and the table 1. I'm going to right-click and just say hide, and I'll unhide them when I'm done. Okay, so what I want is the month name. So like here for the in month being 7, I want July. Here I want March. Here I want January. And I clearly don't want to do all this. And this information is readily available in a table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a powerful function called VLOOKUP. V because I'm going to look up vertically which number am I in. So if it's a 7, I want it to say July. So I'm going to do a VLOOKUP. I'm going to look up this value. I'm going to look it up I'm going to select the data in the table. And then it says the third argument is the column index number. What column do I want it to print there? I want it to give me the names, which is the second column. So I'm going to put a 2. So that's July. Then we have March, January. Problem. Now, let's see why there's a problem. I knew there would be a problem. This was our original command. Now, when I go down, it changed the lookup cell to H3, which is what I want, but it changed the lookup table. It was U4 to V15. Now it's U5 to V16 because when we copy down, everything shifts. But I want this table to be fixed. I don't want that to shift. So I have to fix the lookup table. So I'm going to put dollar signs before the letter, the column letter, and the row number. Now, when I copy that down, notice up here, it's going to stay U4 to V15, and only the first argument will change. So that's nice. So I can copy this all down. Okay, now I want to show you something. And I remember I didn't know this many years ago, and I remember the hours it took me to realize the problem. Suppose I come over here and instead of 1, 2, 3, I put 1, 3, 2. So the third month is March. This is February. The table 1 is correct. The information in table 1 is correct. But look at our month name. It automatically updated. The July is fine, but look at the third month. It's now calling it February. Okay, So here's the problem. In my VLOOKUP, there's another argument which I didn't put. So I put a comma and then up. This is an optional argument, a true-false argument. And it defaults to true. So if you don't type anything, it defaults to true. We'll talk about that in a second. But I want to select false because false says exact match. And so it will exactly look for what is in the first argument in the chart. So if I do that, whoops, if I do that, the problem is fixed. Now March is the third month. So that would be one way to fix the problem. Okay? But what if I didn't type false here for exact match? Look at true. True is an approximate match, and this is the default. And so if you don't type anything, it does this. It's looking approximately. So that means that not all values that you would find here have to appear in the table, and it's going to do some sort of approximation. In the way that it works, this is so important, the values in the first column must be in ascending order. You have to have them in ascending order because it has the way the algorithm is built. It's not going to look for 1 and then 3. If it sees 3 next, it's not going to even look for 2. That's the problem. And so if we want to have true for an approximate match, I need my first column to be in ascending order. The table has to be this way. In ascending order, if it's numbers, means the number goes up. Ascending order, if it's alphabetical, is that alphabetically it has to go from A to Z. So that's the big difference. So if you're doing an exact match, there's no problem. But sometimes there'll be times when you could expect some information in the column that you're searching for is not in the table. We'll see that in a later video. And in that case, you'll do an approximate match, and that only works if the row or column that you're searching on is in ascending order.